Who's someone you started off hating, disliking and eventually grew to like? I transferred to a private school in 7th grade. One of my new classmates was so pretty, so athletic, and wore the coolest clothes from expensive brands I had never even heard of. I was so extremely jealous of her, it warped into hatred. In 10th grade, we both transferred to a different school. Suddenly, we were in a new place where we only knew each other. Turns out, she and I had a ton in common and she was super chill. We were best friends for those 2 years, and even though we've grown apart over the years, it still blows my mind that I went to disliking someone so much based on envy to having some of my fondest memories with her. I also went to a private school, and to this day I'm angry at how many of my classmates were extremely good looking, smart, funny, fabulously wealthy, and so goddamn nice. It's not fair. Looking straight at you, Carter. How dare you be so gorgeous and funny and rich and nice to everyone, and now you're also professionally successful as well. Guy Fieri. Yes, he never evolved past Douchy frosted tips, flame pattern bowling shirts and the extreme thing of the early 2000s. But it turns out he's an exceptionally good guy who does a ton of charity work and is a really great guy off stage. He featured a local diner I used to frequent in NJ, and everyone there said he was a really sweet and polite person when setting up. He's an easy target for ridicule, but it made me realize there is a real person under the character he portrays for ratings. It might make you feel better to know that he really wants to get away from that look, but it's essentially the brand now and he is just stuck with it. He certainly has regrets. My brother. Growing up I hated him and we always fought. Being 2 years younger I always felt in his shadow. It took him going away to school for us to get along and now we are very close. Opposite for me. I used to completely idolize my brother and I loved him to death. But as I've grown older, there's a 9-year age gap. I've realized he's actually a piece of crap and now most of the time I can't stand him. DiCaprio. Titanic wasn't that great and he wasn't that great in it, but my god did he become media incarnate after that film. Then, he didn't do what I figure he would and make a crap career out of rom-coms, exploiting his boyish looks and sex appeal and justifying my jealousy by proxy. Instead, he made Beach and I'm like, who the frick is this guy? Then he just kept on keeping on, always doing the next biggest thing he could potentially do without being a hack sellout. Props to the guy, even if he does need to buy pee repellent by the truckload. The Departed, Wolf of Wall Street, Django, The Revenant, to name just a few. In grade 9 I went to live with my dad. This one girl at my new school took every opportunity she could to put me down. She hated me for no reason, in my perception, so I hated her for that. I thought she was a crappy bully. A month in I heard a girl crying in the bathroom. Different girl. I asked what was wrong and she said I was stealing the guy she had a crush on. So we had a long chat about how I wasn't interested in him and his friendliness was only being friendly. The girl that was bullying me overheard and started being nicer. We talked more and I ended up best friends with the crying girl and the bully. Especially the bully. That was the first time I truly had a best friend and is one of my favorite memories. Gordon Ramsay. He may be vulgar, loud and insulting, but when he loses his crap on a hotel or restaurant owner manager, he's usually right. He's actually a really genuine guy and that's more of his character showing passion. In like year 4, 3rd grade, a new girl came to my school. She and my best friend became friends, but I didn't like her. I claimed she was stealing my friend because they went on the slide during lunch, but I didn't like going on the slide. In the end, we became best friends, and even when my original best friend moved away we were still friends. This sounds like the pinnacle of elementary school girl drama. I have 2 sisters, so I have a lot of second-hand experience with that stuff. When I started high school, I met this girl that was completely the opposite of what I was. She disliked everything that I liked and liked everything I hated. She'd become mad very quickly, which made me hate her even more. Till one day, in German class, she had to sit next to me. I absolutely detested her, but one of my friends was friends with her, so I just had to pretend that I just got along with her fine. Which actually was the case. We laughed the whole class and are still best friends to this day. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Hated his early movies. Thought he was terrible. Now I love him and his movies. He's a pretty serviceable actor and so dang charismatic. Michael Scott and Dwight K. Scott. I could not stand the two of them so much so that it took me a year to get through the first 2 episodes of The Office. By the end of it they were my faves and I quote Dwight in real life way more than I should. My first thought was Michael. I love them both so much now. I hated Michael with a passion at first and almost stopped watching after the first few episodes, but I trudged on through. He is such a great guy deep down. He is an idiot, but loves his people. My brother. When he was born I threw things at him when he was napping in his crib and wrote his name on the walls and then blamed him. My older daughter did this. She blamed her sister, then about 18 months, for writing on the wall. I wasn't convinced as she signed her own name. My best friend. When I meet him I thought he was the stupidest guy ever. Now after years of being friends I can assure you that he is the stupidest guy that I have ever met. But he's my favorite one. Sushi. I'm a human vacuum cleaner. Gimme food, I'll eat it. One day I randomly ordered some tuna nigiri while out at dinner at a Japanese Korean place. Had one piece, almost gagged and puked. Next time I had sushi I knew what to expect and usually eat enough to get me almost visibly ill and unable to walk, otherwise known as the itis. Ashton Kutcher. I honestly didn't like him on that 70s show that much, but my opinion of him flipped when I found out how much he's done to help prevent human trafficking. Probably Jotaro. I got used to Joseph's brashness and cocky funny behavior, so Jotaro's sudden calm demeanor kinda surprised me. Then as the series continued I realized he was an awesome character who's completely different from the other Joesters. I'm still partial to Joseph over Jotaro, mainly on how he has to take things seriously for once, unless he wants to lose to the Pillar Men. And when he did that with that air of brashness but still hilariousness, I think he became my favorite. But Jotaro is a badass, no doubt. I have one particular cousin who terrified me as a kid in that I did not like. He was 12 years older than me and had tattoos and leather jackets with skulls on them, and basically just dark gothic stuff that really freaked me out and made me label him as dangerous. He didn't like me either, considering I hated his cat and once locked him, the cat, out the house while it was raining. Then my mom got the brilliant idea that he should give me piano lessons. I wanted to learn piano, but not from him. So I purposely tried to be an awful student in hopes he'd get frustrated and would stop teaching me. It didn't go well however, as he turned out to be really patient with me and was a really good teacher. It started off small, but we talked more and more. How was your day? What's up? Stuff like that. We came closer and one day I just had a breakdown after coming home from a rough day at school in grade 3. He was the only one home and he held me for hours as I sobbed. He then started picking me up every day after school. He went from being creepy and scary to being the coolest person I know, still to this day. Backstreet Boys. I'm a 31-year-old dude, and used to make fun of them to no end when I was a teenager cause all the girls loved them. Now I find their songs rather catchy. Weird how that works. My favorite Brooklyn Nine-Nine bit is the one where Jake sings Backstreet Boys with the guys in the lineup. This guy I used to work with, well call him Jacob, because that's his freaking name. Anyway we were working at a restaurant and just always hates each other. Eventually I moved out of the kitchen and started serving. Anyway after one night that was just heck. We were slammed from start to finish. Birthday party for like 80 people. Line out the door arc. Just buried in the weeds all night without a chance to catch our breath, and a lack of competent people schedule in the made for a gigantic clusterfuck. Afterwards as we're finally almost done cleaning up and pretty much everyone else had left I was out back smoking and walked up. Jackin, can I bum a smoke? Me. Here, wait, since when do you smoke? Jacob, frick you. Me. Whatever, wanna go get drunk? Jacob, K. So we did. We went to the local dive bar and proceed to GRT hammered drunk and bond over our shared hatred of all our other co-workers and management. Later one of our co-workers wandered in, saw us drinking together and commented, wait, I thought you two hated each other. And Jacob's reply, we do. We just hate the rest of you more. After more nights we became friends. Seinfeld. When it was in its prime in my early teens, my dad used to crap on it, saying it was American crap TV which wasn't worth watching. I trusted his words and couldn't stand it 5 minutes into an attempt at watching an episode. It wasn't until my late 20s that I discovered Curb, which led me on to Seinfeld. Now I think it's awesome. Quite a few people, but here's two. As a child I freaking hated Bob Dylan, but now he's my favorite musician of all time. I guess my dad playing his music every time we were in the car was worth it. Couldn't stand Aziz Ansari after I saw him in Scrubs. Thought he was such a douche. I refused to watch Parks and Rec when it was new because of it. But then I watched Master of None and Aziz has become one of my favorites. As with Parks and Rec. Oh wow, I've seen all of Scrubs and didn't even remember that Aziz Ansari was in it. Just looked up his character and vaguely remember. I have a number of friends that started out disliking me. I'm pretty outgoing and people often take a while before they get me. I have friends like that. Peyton Manning. Hated him most of his career, but when he broke his neck, I felt bad for him and hoped he'd recover enough that he could play again. Then, when he came back, I started actively rooting for him to win. Yeah, but now he's in those god-awful Allstate commercials and all hope is lost again. Mostly. Neil Patrick Harris. I first saw him when watching Smurfs when I was 11, and the combination of his character being a bit of a dong in the start of the movie and the fact that it was cool to hate Smurfs at my school meant I had negative connotations with his name. It was only a year ago when I discovered his performances at the Tonys and watched him and realized how exceptionally talented he is. My love for him has only grown after hearing what a nice guy he is in person. So he's basically grown from being someone who I very much disliked to pretty much being my man crush. Ariana Grande. Her music's still not my thing, but with everything she dealt with about the Manchester attack, I've got so much respect for her now. I'm so on her music, but at some point I realized what a phenomenal singer she is. She actually sounds better live. I was not a fan of Chris Pratt at all in Parks and Rec. This was my first time seeing him in anything. Then I watched Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World and saw the man really does have some good range. He's still a lovable goofy kinda guy, but not all dumb. I like his character a lot more on P&R now also. I've gone the opposite way. I really liked him before JWFK, but now I feel like he's lost his goofy charm. It might be because he was too many led characters in too many franchises in too short a period. I used to hate Michael Bay so much. I thought everything he did was straight garbage. Particularly the Transformers movies really made my skin crawl. Then one day I was watching The Rock, the movie with Nicolas Cage from 1996, not the wrestler, on cable and saw that he was the director. That led me down a rabbit hole of watching some more of his movies and actually enjoying how he made stuff intentionally over the top and bombastic. I still don't like the Transformers movies, but I get what he is going for with them. Just making these stupid movies visually engaging, which honestly is all a big studio director really can do with a franchise like that. My classmate. He is a heavy smoker and I used to think that all smokers are pure evil. A little bit later I began understanding that it doesn't matter what are your habits. Everybody has some. After all, he was a pretty chill dude. About 4 years later, today, he is one of my closest friends. Marilyn Manson. The kids who pretty much worshipped him in middle school scared the heck out of me, but things changed. I grew up and I realized that he's an extremely intelligent and well-spoken guy, and I found that I shared a lot of personal opinions with him. Still not overly crazy about him as a performer, but I respect him as a person. My crush. We were in an acting class together, and the second she walked in the door, I immediately thought, yep, here's the dumb one. She had all the trademarks. Bleached blonde hair, trendy clothes, girly makeup. As a goth, I was totally against it and was even more annoyed when we found out we would be sitting next to each other for 99% of the show. We ended up talking in between scenes and became close friends, and now I'm in love with her. How things changed. IDK, they just did. Stephen A. Smith. Thought he was just loud and obnoxious. The more I watched though, the more I appreciate his ranting skills. It's incredible to watch someone all worked up about something and speak so eloquently. The band Rush. Hated them. With a passion. I got to college and started hanging out with crazy Rush fans and started listening to the drums. I always fancied myself a drummer but was never really any good. Neil blew me away. Became a crazy fan myself. One of my, now, favorite people on earth. He and I met our sophomore year in high school and he was a misogynistic prick to me until one day I was in physical danger from an abusive, addicted brother, so I called some friends to come get me. He came with them with a pair of sharp scissors, only thing he had on hand, and was willing to use them to help me. He stopped being such a dong and now he is one of my absolute best friends and my forever knight with shining scissors. There was this Russian guy in my high school, Artem. Looked like a standard nerd. Tall, glasses the thickness of my fist and skinny. We disliked each other. Then I started hating him. Not even sure why, to be honest. At some point we are both invited to a party. Having gone through a breakup before, I get a lot too much to drink and start being a total butthole. Even more so than usual. After a few big and unpleasant situations that I know of only from a recording. This guy, this legend, tries to convince me to leave because I'm acting like a total butthole. Well, I say something, he said something, and I punch him. Yeah, I don't know why. I was S-faced. Break his glasses. He punches me back. I end up on my butt. Basically, after a day I come to apologize. In my eyes that day he got a lot of respect, and in a few months we became friends. Fast forward to today and I would say he is one of my closest friends. Smart as heck too. Helped me a lot in physics, hahaha. Sorry for my English by the way, lol. Noel and Liam Gallagher of Oasis. About 5 years after they disappeared I finally bought the CD What's the Story Morning Glory, and within a week I grudgingly had to admit Oasis probably had been the greatest band in the world for that 1 year. Like Tears for Fears, the hits were played so often for so long some equally good songs never had a chance to get on pop radio. A co-worker of mine, actually, she was a total pain in the butt and thought she knew everything about the job. Was the vice president for her cheer squad, calls out and requests off all the time. I thought for sure we just wouldn't get along. We started bonding when she said she really enjoys my company and looks forward to working with me. I kinda thought she was joking, so I asked her why, and she told me that I don't hold judgment when she does something dumb and the customers treat her better when I'm behind the bar with her. I'd protect this kid with my life if it came to it. Gal Gadot. When I heard a model out of everyone was going to play my favorite superheroine I was so angered since, to me, models were superficial people and I thought Gal Gadot was only picked because she looked gorgeous. Which made no sense to me as Wonder Woman is so much more than a pretty face. Turns out Gal Gadot is one of the sweetest person alive and that she, also, is more than a pretty face. Leonardo DiCaprio. Back in the 90s he was just your pretty boy used in whatever filmmakers could shove him in to appeal to the teen crowd. Just the sight of his stupid smuggish face turned me off any film starring Leo. I think it was Catch Me If You Can where I first saw a glimpse of a good actor. Now all the way in 2019 I think he's matured so much I'm very happy to sit through one of his films. Despite all the back and forth over whether he deserved an Oscar, The Revenant was fantastic. Just wish Tom Hardy got the Oscar for supporting actor too. Well, he also did the not so appealing and actually Gilbert Grape and Basketball Diaries as a teenager. Being alone, I enjoy thinking to myself, the peace, the clarity and freedom. It allows me to digest life and make sure I am living the way I want to. Life is good. Sarah Silverman. I didn't like her stand-up and found her overly crass and childish. In general I thought of her as incredibly trashy and probably a B. As the years have passed I've discovered through interviews, new shows and so on that she's actually a very intelligent, empathetic, kind-hearted person. Sure, she's still crass and uses grade school bathroom humor, which I'm not a huge fan of, but she seems like a genuinely good person who just wants to make people happy. I didn't like Al Franken as a politician for a long time. I'm a little touchy about people turning Minnesota politics into a joke after Jesse Ventura, but I really started to get turned around on him in 2017, just in time to watch him come crashing down. Watching anime with subtitles instead of dubbed, I found the language distracting, slightly annoying, and watching was hard at first. Felt like I was missing stuff. Fast forward to now where I can read and watch. Japanese has become my favorite language to hear spoken, and I appreciate the experience of the original intent. There's something about Japanese voice actors that feels extremely authentic and pulls you into the world more. It's really an art over there and a well-respected profession that when they pick voice actors, it just clicks. Dubbed animes, however, tend to be horrible in my opinion that I don't even bother with the dubbed versions. It's like they just pull some random person from the street and have them do different voices. The only one I've watched strictly in English is Shin-chan. Screaming in metal music. I used to hate any and all music that had even a hint of screaming. Now I'm listening to Asking Alexandria, August Burns Red, Avenged Sevenfold, Breaking Benjamin, I Prevail, and even some Rings of Saturn and Shadow of Intent. Guess it grew on me lol. This is hard to explain or defend, but Mike Tyson. The more I read about him, the more I understand him and like him. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.